What up, cocksuckers? It's the 45th episode of the MMA Podcast, the last day of May 31st, 2013, and we got quite a bit to talk about. It's been about 10 or 11 days since the last MMA Podcast, so we got a whole week and a half of news to bring you, a bunch of fight announcements, a bunch of rumored stuff we're going to be bringing down, a new tough coach, Kat Zingano is injured, and of course UFC 160 was this past Saturday. It was a hell of a card. You had the two best heavyweights in the world, Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos, having incredibly impressive finishes against Mark Hunt and Bigfoot Silva. They will meet a third time. We will talk about it. Glad to be back. Let's do it.
We did it for the love of the game. We did it, mama. I did it for. Yes, sir. Mama, the game will never be the same. We did it, mama. I did it for.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast with Jake and Chris.
And you heard it right. It is the MMA Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like we mentioned, it's our 45th episode, 5 away from the big 5-0. And we do have a ton to break down this week. But without further any ado, this week it is going to be myself, Chris. You know Chris from being on the first 45 MMA podcast. He is the original co-host. He is doing work. What's up, Chris? Follow him on Twitter at C. Lowenstein.
What's up, guys? Doing pretty good here. Just living life, living the dream. Follow the Aunt Jimmy show. He will change your life forever. Before I knew the guy, I was kind of just a loser. And, now I can get erections every single time that I have sex. It's been a miracle. I look like Shia LaBeouf from Wall Street. Money never sleeps. Got a nice car. Things are going good for me, man. I'm living the dream.
Yeah, before he followed the Aunt Jimmy show, Chris had never had an orgasm in his entire life. Now he literally can just will orgasms whenever he wants to. He just really needs to think of it. I think it's called the tantric orgasm. He just thinks it, and boom goes the dynamite all over everywhere. Ramses, tell us why your Twitter and your podcast really have been changing lives all over the world.
I appreciate the kind words, everybody. Listen to me right now. If you're in Oklahoma City, there's a massive tornado heading your way. It's already coming at you. Power's already out, but you got to find your way to a computer or some sort of mobile phone device, and you got to follow me on Twitter, the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, and then get your ass to shelter. That's the word on the street.
Word on the street, and Yao is back just in time for the intros to the show. Yao, how do we find you on Twitter? What is going on with training and everything? Yao, you there? This motherfucker. Yao might not be there. This says there's a problem with his connection. I'm going to go ahead and let him off the hook, see if he can join back in a little bit. But we're talking about UFC 160. It was the card that was this past Saturday. A lot of people are buzzing about it, mainly because of the heavyweights going out there. Junior Dos Santos and Cain, the two favorites, really making a couple statements last night, showing the world that they are the best two heavyweights in the UFC. Before we talk about the prelims, before we talk about the individual fights on the main card, what was your favorite moment of UFC 160, Ramses?
Yeah, this one's pretty easy, man. It had to be seeing Colton Smith get knocked out like a bum and then try to protest, come to his feet, say it was an early stoppage with his legs all wobbly and shit. It's funny as hell. That was my favorite moment, hands down.
What about you, Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, that's a solid one. Who the fuck wants to watch another man grind up with his naughty parts on another guy for 15 minutes? I guess some people are into that. There's a lot of John Fitch fans out there and Ben Askren fans as well. But, yeah, that's a favorite for sure. I'm going to have to go with Donald Cerrone beating the brakes off of KJ Noons. A certain guy, I won't name him, was talking shit about my boy Cerrone. We made a little friendly bet, and looks like I won that bet, and my boy Cerrone is in the W column again, so I got to go with that one.
Hell yeah, and I think Yao, he was having connection problems at first, but I think he's back on the call. Are you with us, Yao the Truth?
Yes, I am, and I apologize.
No problem. How can we find you on Twitter and Instagram, and B, how the hell is training going, my man?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Yao, that's YAO _ the truth. Instagram, the same, YAO _ the truth. Training is going well. Thanks for asking. Have my Grapplers Quest tournament in July on the 20th. Training for that. Started doing 2 training sessions a day. I'm tired as hell, but I'm still on this podcast.
How vascular are you?
Excuse me?
How torqued are you?
How vascular? You know, the veins, are they popping out? Are you looking
Oh,
vascular?
God.
Or what?
Oh, podcast.
You kind of cut out, and all we heard is podcast.
That's another podcast.
That is the Fully Torqued podcast with Yao and Ali. Definitely listen to that one. Follow Yao at YAO _ the truth. Follow our boy Ali at Archer432. I forgot to shout out our people at MMA Mental and MMA Victor. I don't know how I did it, because they are truly on the forefront. I mean, Ray with MMA Mental, he's doing crazier and crazier stuff every week, it seems like. First, it was wild that he was getting press passes. Then it was wild that he was asking Dana White questions at the pressers. Now he's literally doing commentary for the biggest MMA show in Ireland, Cage Warriors. So yeah, Ray is fucking killing it over there. Chris, did you have something to add in on MMA Mental?
Yeah, guys, I don't know how current you guys are on Facebook, but did anyone on this panel notice Ray's new profile picture on Facebook?
Yeah, it seems like he's always had himself with a female, and normally it's him and his little girl, but I saw a different kind of little girl in Ray's profile picture recently.
I think he got it in. I'm just saying. Go Ray.
What a lot of people don't know about Ray, he's got a velvet voice. He's soft spoken. He wouldn't hurt a fly, but the man has got an engorged penis. It's like at least 14 inches long. I don't know. I think they use like centimeters or some random form of measurement in the UK. I don't know. Probably like 786 centimeters if I did the conversion right. But that man is serving up hot meat. From Glasgow to London, or however the fuck big the UK is. I don't know. This isn't a geography class. It's the MMA Podcast. And MMAVictor.com, of course, for the forums, the games, the picking games. And a quick shout-out, if you want to listen to us, we're every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We did get a kind of late start today because I'm a lazy fuck. It didn't leave Gainesville as early as I needed to. And the MMA Roundtable is every Thursday. Back to UFC 160. Yeah, we didn't get your thought on what your favorite moment of UFC 160 was. What was it?
My favorite moment of UFC 160 would have to be Dos Santos' his overhand right. I think it was in the first round he landed on Hunt. That sounded like a baseball bat. It was ridiculous. Everybody, I was watching with a few of my friends. We all jumped up. That was my favorite part of UFC 160.
Yeah, that was pretty wild, and we will get to the prelims real quick. There, I believe, were 7 prelims on the card. All of them were pretty entertaining. I thought all of them would be one-sided. I went 5-2. I missed the Robert Whitaker and George Root picks. But Jeremy Stevens defeating Esteban Payan in a bloodbath unanimous decision. Roop over Brian Bowles in a surprising second-round TKO. The Karate Master Stephen Thompson defeating the Pride of Philly, Nishan Burrell via unanimous decision. Khabib Nurmagomedov defeating Abel Trujillo via unanimous decision. Robert Whitaker defeating the wrestler hated by many people from that season of, I think it was Tough Live, or the one after that. It was the one with Mikey Ricci, losing via TKO. And Mike Pyle and Dennis Bermudez winning split decisions over Rick Story and Max Holloway. Out of those prelims, which one stood out to you the most? Who's up? Chris?
Yeah, me. You know what, man? I think hands down, obviously, we got to go with Dennis Bermudez and Max Holloway. That was definitely a fucking barn burner, and something that we were all talking about on Twitter as it was going on. I thought that was fantastic. Those guys really put it on the line. Max Holloway had his moments. Bermudez has his. Bermudez ended up with the W that night, but I think that was fantastic, but it's got to be a two-way tie because seeing Colton Smith get fucked up is definitely something that everyone wants to see.
Yeah, the Colton Smith beatdown was hilarious. But also, I thought the Jeremy Stevens bloodbath was pretty damn cool too. It was bullshit though. They should have stopped that fight due to the blood loss. They've done it before in the UFC. So I'm calling shenanigans on that. But who doesn't like a good bloodbath? Especially when it's not on the main network or anything like that. Hell yeah. Yeah, what's up?
My favorite part of the prelims, well, favorite fight or whatever, was Mike Pyle coming back after those hard 2 rounds that he had, and then coming back in the third and really putting it on Rick Story. It just really showed what experience and being a veteran can help you do inside of the cage.
Yeah, a lot of people will point at an older guy and say, look, he's older, he's not going to be as good as the young gun, but I'm always very careful before I say that, because, in fights just like Belfort and Rockhold, Belfort did not look any less, quick, athletic. He looked just the same age as Rockhold, and the one thing he has in his court is experience. And it's interesting to see with guys, because as they do get older, they do get better via virtue of experience, but they eventually hit that point, and I'm going to call it the Chuck Liddell curve, where once you start tanking really hard. Actually, kind of an interesting side note about Chuck. Recently, he came out saying that he at the time thought he was retiring earlier than he should have, but now looking back, he thinks he retired at just the right time. And, that really sort of puts you in that mindset of a fighter. At the time, that's what you've been doing your entire life. And it isn't like you're an old man. You're either in your late 30s, early 40s, or in Randy Couture's case, 70s. But there comes that time where you need to back away and say, it's not worth the abuse I'm going to take to my brain. But Pyle definitely looking like the better fighter at age 37 out of Dresden, Tennessee. He looks like he did when he was 27. We will transition to the main card. We'll start off with a fight I know my boy Chris was very happy to see. Donald Cerrone defeating KJ Noons via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. One of the judges giving Donald Cerrone a 10-8 round. And I'm assuming that was the same round where Donald Cerrone was ground and pounding KJ Noons so hard that he busted open a goat's vagina on his elbow. That was a pretty gnarly picture, but he had a big smile on his face because he was the winner of the fight. Ramses, what do you think about the fight, and what do you think is next for the Cowboy? We threw some names around on the round table. I think Healy and Miller were mentioned. I brought up Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's still undefeated, yet to really get thrown a lion his way like Donald Cerrone. What you got?
Man, Donald Cerrone, man, he's in trouble here. Good thing that he won, otherwise he was going to be reduced to bum status. But basically, I see him as I think he's become a gatekeeper now. That beatdown that Anthony Pettis corked on him, how do you recover from that and look like a man again? It didn't help that KJ Noons went to a damn decision. So Deroni's got Deroni. Fuck it, that's his name now. Deroni's got a lot to prove, man. If Deroni don't get his shit together, he's gonna get his walking papers in 2 more fights. He's never getting that title shot either, man. But Deroni's a character, so God bless him. Yeah. What's up, Yao? Or actually, Yao.
Yeah, it's on Yao.
Yeah, I'm next. I enjoyed the fight a lot. Cowboy, he showed that he can, not just kickbox and just try to outstrike someone, but he can take it to the ground and pound and everything. I was actually pulling for KJ Noons, but didn't work out that way. But as far as his next opponent or whatever, I would like to see him fight Josh Thompson. I think that fight would be like really high pace and everything. I'd like to see him fight Josh Thompson and maybe a number 1 contenders match. What do you guys think?
Oh, wow. That's a really solid thing to say, Yao. Quite a change of tune there, little birdie. Yeah, definitely. Donald Cerrone, he's in the win column. I won a bet, and he is not a fucking gatekeeper, and his name ain't Deroni, so don't be a jabroni. God damn it, Ramses. Know his name. So I'll tell you what, man. He's gonna come back. I like the Thompson fight. Next question.
Connie Deroni looking excellent against KJ Noons, dispatching the Strikeforce veteran. It's he will definitely get a top 20 fighter, but it's all about styles, and Cerrone kind of you can't really take the Pettis fight away from him, because Pettis has really looked like maybe the best 145 or 155 guy other than Aldo, and we're going to see them sort that out in a couple months here. The Diaz fight, he just looked unmotivated. He got outboxed by a Nate Diaz who really, if Cerrone came out against Diaz the same way he came out in that first fight against Bendo, there's no way Diaz would have outpointed him. I don't know if he was sick, injured, what was going on, but he was not himself in that fight. And I'm interested to see how high he can go, because like I've said a million times, the dude has got a giant toolbox. Guys who say that his ground game is questionable just got to go back and look at his WEC fights, because the man's got crazy jits. He's got solid wrestling, a boxing game, kickboxing. You tell him. TJ Grant, he is. I don't want to say he looks better than Donald Cerrone, but he certainly is higher up the weight class, earning a championship fight by defeating Gray Maynard via first-round TKO. Mike Tyson convinced Dana White to give him the bullshit bonus or some stupid shit that probably didn't really happen, but they're just saying so more people pay attention to the sport. But TJ Grant did get the Knockout of the Night award for that TKO on Gray Maynard, who is actually a pretty iron chin guy. What did you think of the fight, and what do you think about this Grant versus Benson Henderson matchup, Chris?
Well, first off, man, I gotta say, wow, what a fight. That right there was a Paul Daly, Nick Diaz-esque barn burner. You can't take too much away from Gray. He actually tagged TJ with quite a few good shots, man. He really stuck it to TJ. TJ just had that fire, man. He's at the point Gray was a couple of years ago. He wants it more. He even said in a pre-fight interview he's going to finish Gray Maynard in the first, and he did it. So, that kid is on a tear. And as far as, as far as the future match, I think it's great. I think TJ is a legit threat. He's got an awesome ground game. I don't know if you've seen this guy fight much off of his back, but he actually armbarred Shane Roller pretty good. And, he did well at welterweight, and at lightweight, it just seems like he's in his prime and he's surging. So I definitely give TJ Grant a good shot. And I think we all want to see the king, Bendo, fall after he's kind of become a GSP of the lightweight division.
Look, I don't have many favorite fighters, but it goes in this order: Chael Sonnen, Eve Edwards, and let me cut to the chase here. Gray Maynard is my fourth favorite fighter. Brian Ebersol is my third, but Gray Maynard is one of my favorite fighters. TJ Grant, man, you got lucky this time. You got lucky, all right, people. Here's what really happened. Gray Maynard doesn't. You look in his eyes, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck about you or anything. He doesn't care about much. He just wants to fight. He's got that 1,000-yard stare that you don't want to ever fucking mess with. But the one thing that he actually does care about is his little dog, and he had to fight knowing that his dog was at home dying at that very moment, which it was, unfortunately. So look, I know it sounds like I'm making excuses for the man, but come on. The dude knew his dog was dying at home. That'd fuck with you a little bit, wouldn't it? And that's what I'm going to blame the loss to. He will be back, though. Mark my words. He'll be back. Or he'll retire. What do you think, Yao?
That knockout was crazy. It was foul. I was really disappointed. I really wanted Gray Maynard to win that fight because I think he had a better chance at beating Ben Henderson than TJ Grant does. But TJ Grant, he did his thing. He just went out there, laid it all out, knocked him out. As far as TJ Grant fighting Ben Henderson, I think Ben would just blow right past him, but I would like to see Ben Henderson get knocked out.
Knocked the fuck out. Yeah, he's not going to be anywhere close to... I mean, you know, the odds, Benson's probably going to be something like minus 500, minus 600, but don't count TJ Grant out. The guy is truly one of the more underrated people in the UFC. He's on a 5-fight win streak. Granted, you know, he hasn't really beaten the who's who of the lightweight division, but wins against Evan Dunham, Matt Wyman, and Gray Maynard, especially knockout wins against Wyman and Maynard. Both of these guys are iron chin lightweights, and Grant's sort of looking like, I don't know if Johnny Hendricks is the right comparison, but he's looking very crisp. We got another call coming in talking about TJ Grant taking on Benson Henderson. First off, though, who is calling us?
Ali.
What up, man? Yeah, I was looking for you on Skype and didn't see you, but I'm glad you called up. What do you think, or what did you think about TJ Grant's fight against Gray Maynard, and what do you think about his upcoming title fight against Benson Henderson?
It was an impressive fight. Great win. He was the underdog the whole fight. It was, he got that bonus because of Mike Tyson. I thought that was pretty cool. I know they're gonna be fighting. He's gonna be fighting Ben for the title on Fox Sports 1 on the main event. That's gonna be a stack card, so I'm excited. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, and you want to stay on the call and chat UFC 160 with us, or did you call up just to touch on a point or two?
Oh yeah, I'll stay on. Yeah.
All
Wait
right,
a second. Is that A Girly MMA?
He's blowing up your spot. No.
Hello?
Nothing?
Nothing?
He obviously doesn't know what you're talking about.
I think he's kind of mixed up. I don't think Ali is the A Girly MMA impersonator, but he does sound kind of like him.
What?
Yeah, he obviously has no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
My bad, dude. My bad. I just watched. I'm all mixed up.
Just to keep things simple, Ali, we have Yao slotted in every time to speak after Ramses, so we'll have it so it'll go Ramses, Yao, and then you. And half of the time Chris will come after that, and half of the time Chris will come before Ramses. But just know after Yao, it'll be your turn to give us your 2 cents. And we will be talking about the 3 main fights on UFC 160. Glover Teixeira, Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez, all winning. But, and Ali, you might want to mute up real quick because I can hear a little background noise. But really quick, we do have our 10 solid seconds of sports that we will start off right now. All right, the Heat go out a 3-2 lead to the Pacers by winning last night. The winner of the series will move on to face San Antonio Spurs in the finals. In the NHL, only LA, Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Boston remain in the fight for the Stanley Cup, and Sergio Garcia is a racist. Yeah, if you think this podcast is racist, or if you're a fan of this podcast, you'll probably be a big fan of Sergio Garcia, because he said some joke about Tiger Woods eating fried chicken. Poor taste, it wasn't even really funny, and now everyone's on his case, as they should be. We will move on to a fight between a Brazilian and a New Zealander, if we're getting real racist with it. Glover Teixeira defeating James Tahuna via submission. He actually subbed him out via guillotine choke halfway through the first round. Glover really getting himself back in the good graces of all the fans. After he fought Rampage, people were kind of down on him because that fight was not exciting at all. I think mainly Rampage is to blame for that. He just didn't want to exchange, and Glover wanted to, and Rampage was kind of shying away. But Glover getting that submission win. How close is he to a title shot now, and what did you guys think of that fight?
Look, the Glover-Tex fight, he made easy work of James Tahuna, who is a tough motherfucker. This just proves and validates everything I said about the Rampage fight. Glover-Tex, we all know how the business... Excuse me, people. We all know how the business works. Glover-Tex was given a little incentive there to take it easy on Rampage, not hurt the man, give the fans the show they wanted to see, not an utter destruction. making Rampage go out on embarrassed with no possibility of him ever returning to make some more money. So look at this fight here. And then tell me, is that the same Glover that showed up to fight Rampage? No, it was not. But still, hats off, congratulations to Glover. He is becoming a company man despite the language and the visa barrier. What did you think? Glover text James Tahuna, what's up?
Not to take anything away from Glover Teixeira, but James Tahuna, I don't know I don't know where he's training, but he dropped down into that guillotine to try to defend from the knees, kind of try to drop his hands down, and then fell into the guillotine, which was ridiculous. I mean, if you've ever, I don't know who showed him that. I don't know where he got it from, but it was horrible, and it cost him the fight. I was screaming at my television like, no, what are you doing? You don't have to do that. He falls into the guillotine, gets submitted in the first. Hats off to Glover Teixeira. He did his thing. He took advantage of a great opportunity. As far as him fighting for the title, I would like to see him get a top 5 opponent. I don't know where he is in the rankings, but I would like to see him get a top 5 opponent. Maybe somebody like the winner of Rashad and Hendo, or the loser, maybe. I don't know. One of those people.
Ali.
Girly MMA?
Excuse me. I thought Glover Teixeira was impressive. James Tuna, I was pretty upset though. I like James Tuna ever since his couple past wins by finishes. But yeah, he was pretty impressive. I think he should get a top 5 opponent, like y'all said, and I'll leave it off at that.
Yeah. Is it my turn or?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, you all brought up some fucking solid points there, but ask yourself this question. Who the fuck has either of these guys beat that really matters? Glover Teixeira had a fucking, a really boring fight like Jake brought up against Rampage Jackson. And Rampage hasn't looked like himself since Forrest beat him, man. Let's be honest here. James Tahuna, who has he beat? Ryan Jimmo? I mean, come on. Neither of these guys are contenders. For Teixeira to fight James Tahuna after beating a top 10 opponent and then fight an unranked guy, it's fucking stupid. You know what? Yeah, both of them are tough guys with a great skill set. But if you all think that Glover Teixeira is the next man, to fight John Jones, you're out of your goddamn mind. There's no fucking way. And James Tahuna, what did he prove in this fight? He proved that he can't hang against a, lower A, upper B level fighter.
Yeah, Glover, I think the next match for him should be the winner of Shogun and Little Nog. Just a war between Glover and Shogun. Oh, I would kill to see that. That would be so exciting. Both of those guys can really throw leather. And speaking of guys that can throw leather, Junior Dos Santos and Mark Hunt, pretty much regarded as the 2 most powerful punchers in the UFC. They fought each other this past Saturday, and it was a one-sided affair. Junior Dos Santos was the quicker man, the stronger man, the more athletic man, and after winning rounds 1 and 2, he threw up a spinning heel kick, something nobody expected from a boxer in Junior Dos Santos, and he landed it. It wasn't the prettiest spinning bag kick I've ever seen, but it led to a victory. Everybody was blown away. We know that Junior's next fight will be a trilogy fight against Kane, so we won't talk about that until after the Kane fight. But what did you think of the fight, and what's next for Mr. Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan?
Well, first off, man, thoughts on the fight. It was fun. It was exciting. It was a great scrap between, 2 guys that are really, top of the top here. And honestly, I got to say one thing about this fight. It was fucking cursed. Mark Hunt broke his toe in the first round. I don't know if you guys keep up with MMA news. I'm sure everyone here does, but he broke his toe. And even though after, almost, 14 minutes of a beatdown, Mark Hunt gets caught with a spinning heel kick. And it wasn't even the heel that caught him, man. It was actually, the back of his leg that caught him. He went down. His legs didn't go out. He just kind of fell over. As much as Ramses talks about works, this seemed like kind of a work to me, man. I didn't really think that that's something that would knock someone out, but who knows? I'm not a fighter. I'm just really impressed with the fight and all, and those are my only thoughts.
Yeah, I got to say, man, I believe that Dos Santos did whoop this guy's ass legitimately. But anytime you see a head kick that kind of clips them at the top, kind of grazes them, and then they go down like they were shot with a goddamn rifle, it does raise little questions in my mind. But let's face it, Dos Santos was going to knock this fucking guy out regardless. The UFC set up Mark Hunt good this time, man. They even had him stalled out for a week or two in the most important part of his training camp, worrying about his fucking visa. They fucked with the visa people. They fucked with his hotel room, his sleep schedule, his food, his water, everything. So yeah, finally we saw the fight. What happened happened. JDS took care of business. He is the best heavyweight on the planet, in my opinion. That's the word on the street. Maybe, Yao, you got something else to say about it, though.
This fight was great. It was my favorite fight of the night. It was like a classic, kickboxer versus boxer until the end of the fight where you see Dos Santos come out with the head kick, Mark Hunt, he was very efficient with his counters, as he always is, countering in and out. Dos Santos was sticking, moving, landing his power shots, going back and forth. Definitely see why it, deserved fight of the night. Dos Santos, I was proud of him. He beat Mark Hunt. Now he's getting his title shot against Cain Velasquez, and I can't wait to see it.
Ali, what did you think about Hunt versus JDS, and who do you got next for Mark Hunt?
It was a very fun fight for the fans, the casual fans. If you're new to MMA and you've seen fights like that, it's nothing don't turn you on to it. Great fight overall. JDS got his chin tested a little bit. It was the kickboxer versus the boxer fight, and it very, very great finish. I thought I should have got knocked out of the night, but it's all right. That kick was special. He grazed him with the calf. About the work thing, like when you get hit with a kick, coming from a guy like that, and he's throwing it pretty hard, and he hits you in the head, you're gonna fall. And that last punch, it's gonna finish him off. So that's what I think.
For sure. We will get to Cain Velasquez against Bigfoot Silva. But first and foremost, we got our stat of the day.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
After this past Saturday, Cain Velasquez is now 2-0 in his career in rematches. Bigfoot Silva losing to Velasquez by another first-round TKO for the second time in 365 days. In both fights, Bigfoot Silva landed a total of 5 strikes.
Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day!
Big shout out, as always, to Jamie Josta and the Dan Patrick Show for that little ditty. Stat of the day. I love the shit out of that clip. It's probably my favorite clip we got on the show. And it does transition us into Cain Velasquez defeating Antonio Silva via another just beatdown. This time a minute and 21 seconds. Just like the last time. TKO'd the shit out of him. Bigfoot did cry foul, did say it was an early stoppage or shots to the back of the head or both. He tweeted out a picture of the back of his head that really had, it wasn't like the back of his head was markedly bruised. I actually looked hard at it. It looked like the back of anybody's head. But Cain went out there, and I don't think anyone thought that Cain was not the better fighter in the octagon. Before we get to what's next for Bigfoot, and of course the trilogy fight between Cain and JDS, what did you think of the fight, and was it indeed an early stoppage?
Of course it was an early stoppage. Look, people, if Bigfoot Silva had landed anything on Cain, dropped him, and was about to finish him, you know what the fuck would have happened? The lights would have turned out in the fucking arena. The pay-per-view would have gone dark on your TV. And when it came back, Cain Velasquez would be standing there while Bigfoot was in a bloody pile of mess, suddenly, out of nowhere. Alright? Yes, it was an early stoppage. Nobody wanted Bigfoot Silva to win, not even the fucking fans, especially not the UFC. Cain Velasquez is going all the way to Mexico. They just opened up a new channel, a new television channel in Mexico. called the UFC channel. Do you understand me, people? It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Yeah, you got screwed, Bigfoot, but you're too dumb to actually realize it. Just go with the flow, be a company man, or else they're gonna run you out of this fucking thing the first chance they get. They've already been trying. You got lucky on Overeem, man. That was supposed to be your fucking walking papers that night. That's what I think. Yeah, what do you think? Kane versus Bigfoot Silva. You saw that shit, right?
Yeah, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it. It was very quick, but it was an early stoppage, in my opinion. You know, this is, I guess, what we're just getting now, early stoppages. You see at 160, 159 with Jones and Sonnen, and then one that really upset me back at UFC 158 with Anthony Carvalho, I think his name is. We're just getting early stoppages now. So, you know, Bigfoot, when the ref stopped it, he was able to get up and he kind of shook his head in disappointment and everything. But Kane, I mean, he just went out there, did what he needed to do to win. I was very proud, and I was really happy because now we'll get the trilogy fight, and that's what everybody wanted. So that does make you think that, you know, there was some type of work involved, like Ramsey said. You know, never doubt the word on the street. But that's my take on it.
Damn right. Ali, what'd you think?
He's still with us? Are you there, Ali? Is he on the call?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Kane versus Bigfoot Silva. What did you think of the fight? Was it an early stoppage? What's up?
Yeah, it was an early stoppage. Like y'all said, that has been happening a lot. I've been noticing that. I think it's probably just a thing with safety of the fighters, but I'm not going for that. I think Cain Velasquez was the better man, period. I think he would have won that fight regardless of the fact. Great win for the champion. You know, we get to see the trilogy of Kane versus JDS. It's going to be a great heavyweight scrap, I think, later this year. And I'm excited for it.
Definitely something to be excited for, brother. Man, you know, this right here is a good example of good marketing. You got the Yeti, Antonio Silva, just lumbering around, knocking out Travis Brown because Brown was injured and fighting an Overeem with his hands at his waist. Then you have Cain Velasquez versus Bigfoot. What you have right there is Yoda versus fucking Chewbacca. You got a big, slow, unathletic monster versus a guy that can move and has great technique. And, you know, as far as the fight goes, was it early? I don't know. I mean, it's up to the ref. If you go out to Austin, Texas, and you see a fight on the streets, and you see a guy on his stomach covering his head, what's going to happen? Either the dude who's beating up on him stops, or, feels bad for him, or he just keeps on hitting him. That's it. There's no early stoppage here, man. Cain Velasquez did what he needed to do. Bigfoot was just laying there like a fucking bum.
Alert. Jenny Friedman talking about Kegel exercises on Twitter. Alert.
I would put my entire dick inside of her. Word on the street.
Yo, she's showing off. She's showing off the Kegels, and it looks like she has the machine all the way down to like literally the maximum weight, and she's taking a picture mid rep. She could probably snap that fucking twig off with one squeeze.
They tried, people, but that's a story that I will never tell.
Snap the twig off, snap the branch off, whatever you want to call it. That thing's like a chainsaw in there. You don't want to be fucking around with that. All right, getting back to Cain Velasquez and Antonio Silva, I don't even want to talk about what's next for Bigfoot. We're just wasting our times. The guy's on the way out. I don't think he ever gets another title shot. Really, his wins against Brown and Overeem were way more because of the other guys' mishaps than his own, his own fighting style. Reem put his hands down. That's why he beat Reem. Brown tore his knee up on a freak injury. That's how he beat Brown. I don't think he would have been able to beat either guy without having help via the ways I just mentioned. But let's talk about it. Cain versus Junior Dos Santos 3, the heavyweight championship. We don't know when it's going to be. Probably late summer, fall of this year. What do you guys think is going to happen? The two fights had very different results. The first one, Junior Dos Santos knocking out Kane in like 60 seconds. The second one, Kane beating Junior Dos Santos post to post, making him look like Jason Voorhees when he took off the mask, looking ridiculous. I think we're going to see a similar result to the second fight. I don't know if Junior his takedown defense was lacking in that second fight, and I don't see him getting his takedown defense to the level where it needs to be between now and then. We have heard reports that Junior's body was breaking down in that second fight, that he was like pissing brown or something because he was just overexerting himself and training too much. Don't know how much validity there is to that, but I see Kane winning the third stanza of the trilogy quite easily. Ramses, what do you think?
Well, if you've been listening to the program for any amount of time, you know exactly what I think of the first rematch between Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez. That second fight was an entire work. Dos Santos was supposed to lose that one. He was actually probably supposed to take a dive, but Kane couldn't even fucking knock his ass out. That's how, so JDS went the distance, just letting himself get beaten up the entire time. Rewatch the fight, people. He does not fight back. He does not. And, of course, he makes excuses. Now, what's this report? He was pissing Brown. That's his excuse. Shut the hell up. Yeah, no. Brown pissed him off. That was what really happened, all right? He got paid to take this fucking fall. And let's face it, the third fight, if it goes down, mark my words, someone just take a show note or something so we can replay this right now.
Gotcha.
If the Kane versus JDS fight, the third one, goes down in Mexico, it's going to be another fucking work, and Cain Velasquez wins this one. No fucking problem. All right. Like I said, UFC expanding into Mexico. What a fucking coincidence. We have a Mexican heavyweight champion. People, it doesn't get more obvious. It does not. Unless you're the WWE. All right. It does not get more obvious. But I still love the sport. Everything about it. I'm still going to fucking watch that fucking fight. I'll pay money for it. I don't give a fuck. But I know what I'm paying for. Entertainment. Not a ranked sport of any kind. Yeah, what do you think?
This third fight, to me, it really comes down to who can push harder, and I think that's Cain Velasquez. Okay. This third fight...
That was Peter Griffin, by the way.
Oh, really? Cool.
You said push hard like you would push a penis into something. Get it?
Oh, yes, I get it. Very funny. But
I'm going to cut his ass off the call. God damn.
He called you out on your
laugh when
bomb.
you're commanded. You will laugh.
You bombed and he called you out.
No, but really, I just think the third fight comes down to who can push harder. If Cain can just do what he did in the second fight, he wins it easily. But if Dos Santos can just throw more kicks, if he can go for takedowns and not just try to knock Cain Velasquez out, he can win this fight as well. If he just goes in there and tries to box with Cain Velasquez, he's going to lose because Cain is going to use knees, elbows, kicks, punches, as well as takedowns. So what Dos Santos needs to do is do more of what he did in the third round of the Hunt fight with the kicks, and he can win this fight. But if not, he'll lose again.
He needs to knock people out with kicks. Got it. Ali, what do you think about the trilogy fight between Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez?
Cain Velasquez, he's going to win. People forget that he trains with Daniel Cormier, and Daniel Cormier is an Olympic wrestler. So, he has to be able to take anybody down. So, learning from a guy like that, I think Cain is just going to do it in the second fight and take him down. He'll use his boxing to set up a takedown as well. The only thing I see Junior doing is, due to the success of the kick against Mark Hunt, he'll use that to close the distance and get a little dirty boxing in, but I think it's still going to be the same result. Dominant performance from Cain Velasquez all the way.
Dominant. I like that. I definitely like that, man. And I'll tell you what. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Mexican versus the Brazilian. It's the Rua versus the Calle. It's the Vaquero versus the Vaquero. It's the Luchador versus the Luchadore. Look up that translation. I basically just said that it is the street versus the street. It is the cowboy versus cowboy. It's a fighter versus fighter. I like it. We all like it. We don't know who's going to win. Ramses has his idea, but, that's the word on the street.
We are calling up Yao. Real quick, he couldn't be on the Skype, so we're calling him up on the cell phone. Great podcast as always. Yao, you with us?
I am.
All right, cool. Yes. Why'd you have to switch from Skype to cell? You going out of range? What the fuck's going on? You're fucking doing dishes. You're calling me out for my shitty jokes. You're making me call you and shit in the middle of the podcast. What the fuck is going on?
I'm sorry. It's just Queens, New York. That's what I need to know. Just Queens, New York.
Yep. Hell yeah.
All right, that makes no sense. But Queens, New York. That does wrap up our breakdown of UFC 160. We got some news to break down first, though, so we will play the obligatory news theme. Doesn't feel right breaking down the news without it. All right, and the biggest news of the week, obviously, was Miesha Tate replacing Kat Zingano on this season of The Ultimate Fighter. I don't know, I'm not one that usually buys into the work and conspiracy theory, but when I heard this, I was like, wow, because we all know the UFC wants Miesha Tate in there a lot more than Kat Zingano. Like I mentioned on the round table, they don't need to worry about the hardcore fan like us. We're going to watch in either way. They need to market to the mainstream fan, and how are they going to market women's MMA to the mainstream fan? Pardon me. A couple of hot-ass bitches in Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate both fit the bill for that. Dana White, whether or not Zingano really got hurt and really had to back out via her own volition, I guarantee you the UFC brass is very happy. This season of The Ultimate Fighter is going to be watched by more people because Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey are hotties. Not saying that Zingano isn't hot herself, but let's face it, Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, they're both at least 9s. So, you are going to get a lot of views from that. Ronda Rousey going as far to say that this was the matchup that the UFC wanted to set up, which is probably believable. You are going to see a lot more bad blood between Rousey and Tate than you would have seen between Rousey and Zingano. They do have a history. Leading up to their fight in March 2012, there was a lot of bad blood. Obviously, this whole new thing with Caraway Gate 2013, I'm sure there will be bars being thrown back and forth. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this season of Tough, not just because of the coaches, but because you have women's and men's bantamweight. Like I said yesterday on the MMA Roundtable, we're probably going to see some homemade TRT injections going down in the UFC hot tub there at the Tough House. Maybe we see a kid or two get conceived under the roof. Chris, what are your thoughts on Miesha Tate replacing Kat on this season of Tough?
Straight up, Jake. Thanks for that lead-in, man. Tate versus Rousey is a good fight, but Tate versus Zingano, Rousey versus Zingano would have been something completely different. I mean, we all have our thoughts on it. Fuck if I know what's going on, man. It seems very convenient. It seems like some kind of ruse. And, if there's a better man out there than myself to bring this up and talk about it and really break it down, it's Ramses. Ramses, what the hell do you think about this?
Goddamn right, Chris. Look, people, every day now. Look, I thought the Rousey versus Tate, Miesha, sorry, Miesha. What's up, baby? I thought the beef was over. I thought the fight was out of the way. I've been working my own thing here that's going on. But now that this fucking shit happened, it's back to the same old drama with these two girls. They're always on my ass. Just the other day, Miesha was like complaining. She was like, she rolled over in bed and she was like, look, it's bothering me. The last 3 times you've finished with Ronda and not me. And I was like, look, it's just a coincidence. That's how the rotation works. These girls, man, They're blowing me up. They're getting all petty again. They used to be cool with each other, just sharing me. It used to be all right. But now we're back to the same pettiness and bickering. I blame Dana White and the UFC. Obviously, we know what happened here. They're shutting this thing down. Obviously, what's going to pull in the ratings? It's going to be Ronda versus Misha. It's not going to be Ronda versus an out-of-the-closet lesbian. Let's face it. All right? Guys aren't going to be into that. That's just a little too weird, not the best way to introduce tougher women. That's what's happening, and it's causing a lot of fucking drama in my life. I don't know what to do with these girls anymore. If you're still out there, man, what would you do?
Yeah, I'm out here. And, I got to just agree with Ramsey 100%. This fight, I remember when it was Ronda Rousey and Kat Zingano, and Ramsey said, look back in the past, Kat Zingano doesn't have a fight coming up. She has a payday coming up. And maybe that payday was too large, or maybe they said, well, if we just, get her out of here, we can put in Misha Tate, make more money. I don't know. I just really feel like this is all centered around money. So, as far as the season, it is going to be fun. It's going to be, I think, bantamweights. Those fights are always exciting. And I'm looking forward to it. What do you think, Ali?
Yeah, I was really pissed off about the news, actually. How the UFC gave it to Misha. I really thought that they should have gave it to Sarah McMahon. Even though she has one fight in the UFC, she was in the Olympics, Rousey was in the Olympics. Judo, wrestling, I thought that would have been a great fight. Of course, when we watch Tough, there's going to be a whole bunch of trash talk and arguments, we're to see that. I think Brian Caraway's name's going to pop in there. You might as well say it's scripted because you could pretty much read it. When the fight goes down, it'll be pretty interesting. I think Ronda Rousey wins. It's going to be a work, definitely. I don't believe in works, but for Ronda Rousey, I do. And that's where I leave it at.
Leave it right there, son. All right, we got a couple more news items. We're going to fly through these. Rumor of an Anderson Silva rib injuries. The Silva camp and Dana White denying claims, as you would expect, but there is a rumor floating around that Anderson Silva's ribs are injured. Do you buy into the rumor, or is Anderson just coming up with an excuse for after a potential loss to Chris Weidman?
Yeah, this is total bullshit, man. This one's easy to see. It's obvious they offered Chris Weidman the dive, not only on the UFC side, but probably Anderson's camp came at him with a lot of money. The kid's saying no, he wants the real fight, he wants the fucking belt. So, of course, Anderson Silva, you're seeing him float out this rumor coming out of Brazil, that he's fucking injured. He's got it's his hibs again. His hibs, always giving him trouble. Sorry, motherfucker, this ain't St. Louis. Nobody gives a shit about your ribs. You're gonna go down. It's easy to see. Right now I'm thinking Weidman, unless they manage to convince the kid to take a dive. Yeah, what do you think?
His ribs really could be injured, but then again, it's just a rumor. He said his ribs were hurting him after the Chael Sonnen fight. So, it could be hurting him, but it is coming out of Brazil, so you know how that goes. But I guess we'll just have to see fight day. What you think, Ali?
I'm sorry I forgot the guy's name on Twitter, but he's some Brazilian guy, I think, who works for the UFC. And, he, supplies news from the fighters in Brazil. And he said Anderson Silva is not injured at all. It is just a rumor. He's not injured. I think it's just someone making some bullshit lie. And that's that.
Yeah.
Looks like you might have a bad connection there, but Chris, what is the word, my man?
You know what, man? Anderson Silva had that rib injured before. It was the perfect excuse prior to his fight with Chael Sonnen at UFC 117. You know what? If it's true, you don't want to go out there and put that out there, on the internet for people to see. You don't want to fuel the fire, that your opponent has. What good is it really going out there and saying that Anderson Silva is injured before a fight? There's no good in that, man. You either keep quiet and you push him through it, get him rehabbed as much as you can, or you pull out of a fight. Going out there and saying, well, Anderson might have an injury, that's some fucking punk shit, man. I don't understand that. There just doesn't seem to be a reason for it other than making excuses for a loss. As much as I don't want to say that, and that's where I stand.
Yeah, and what was interesting, the Silva camp denying claims, and it's just coming from this random reporter. You don't know what the reporters, what his reasons are, what his motives are behind dropping the story, and you don't know how he found out, whether somebody told him from the camp, whether he's just going off a hunch because he saw something. We don't know, and I guess we'll have to wait until probably after the fight before we find out if there was really an issue. One last topic before we get to our beatdown of the month. And Ali, I know we didn't get a chance to chat before the show, but yeah, if you want to start brainstorming after this topic, we're going to be doing our beatdown of the month segment where we break down the biggest beatdown of the month, and I'll slot you in last after Ramses and Yao. But first, Uriah Hall and Nick Ring to fight each other at UFC on Fox Sports 1. The much-touted tough beast Uriah Hall had maybe the most impressive season inside the house that a fighter's ever had. He didn't win in the finals, losing to the now welterweight Kelvin Gastelum. But, even Chael Sonnen was telling Hall that he thought Hall would be a future UFC champion in that middleweight division that features such contenders as Vitor Belfort, Luke Rockhold, Anderson Silva, and Chris Weidman. What do you think? I think as far as the fight goes, that most people will think are this will actually probably be pretty close in Vegas. Ring does have a little bit of UFC experience. Hall does have experience though, fighting guys like Costa Philippou, and I believe who else did he fight? Chris Weidman? Did he fight Weidman and Philippou? Ramses, is that right? Does anybody know?
I don't fucking know. I'm smoking.
Yeah. So Hall. Yeah, Hall does have a lot of experience, but how do you think Uriah Hall is going to fare in that UFC middleweight division, Chris?
I think he'll do pretty well. The problem is that he had so much hype placed on his shoulders, and we all know we've seen fighters come in with a ton of hype on him. Look at Stephen Thompson, man. Oh, GSP thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced poutine. Whatever, man. That kid went in there and he knocked out some nobody and got beat up by Matt Brown. There's been a ton of hype on a ton of fighters. Nick Ring, in my opinion, is a safe fight. Nick Ring has finished one fight in the UFC. Other than that, he finished James Head by a TKO, I believe, and James Head is now a welterweight. So it's a safe fight for Hall. It's some favorable matchmaking here. To say that, Chael Sonnen telling him, you're going to fight Anderson Silva for the title. You're the next title challenger here. I think that's just too much weight to put on a guy, and I think he got humbled in his loss against Kelvin, and I think he'll do well, man. I don't really see him breaking top 5, but I see him doing really well against the lower top 5.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. This is a total layup matchup for Uriah Hall. Basically, I mean, of course the UFC wants him to win. They want him to be like the next star, breaking out of tough. Unfortunately, he totally fucking caved and bombed in the fight with Kelvin. Like I keep saying, honestly, rewatch the fucking walkout and right before the fight starts. Like, the lower half of his jaw is just shivering almost out of place. I thought the mouth guard was gonna fall out of his damn mouth. He was that nervous. So he's got that problem against him. Luckily, they're setting him up with Nick Ring, who is, he is a fancy boy. It's about as fancy as it fucking gets in the UFC with this guy. So this should be a layup. Uriah Hall, have some confidence, man. We'll try to get him on the show again and put some confidence in his ass. Why not? Yeah, what do you think, man?
I'm very excited for this fight. Uriah Hall from Queens, New York, just like me, represent. But, Nick Ring, he's no slouch, but Uriah Hall is, he's training with Mark Munoz and, what is his name, Jake Ellenberger right now. So Nick Ring is primarily a kind of grappler wrestler guy that tries to strike, but I feel like he will try to grapple with Uriah Hall, and that'll be no problem because Uriah is training with, like I said, two accomplished wrestlers, Jake Ellenberger and what is his name, Mark Munoz. So I'm excited for it. You know, I'm glad to see that Uriah is getting back in there with another fight to redeem himself, and after that, they'll just keep giving him more and more opponents, and he'll just be smashing through all of them.
What up, Ali?
It's a great warm-up fight for Uriah Hall, I think. Yeah, definitely the UFC went safe on this one, giving him a guy who doesn't really finish fighters, Nick Ring. And I know a lot of his fights are, to me, they're pretty boring. And I really love MMA. Like, I admire the skill and the technique and all, but he's just boring. I think it's going to be a great finish for Uriah Hall. Maybe a knockout, maybe a submission. Who knows? You know, he's working on great wrestlers, so, you know, he can get his submission game going a little bit. Maybe with rear naked something. That's it, really.
Can I point something out about Uriah Hall in the UFC?
Yeah. Yep.
I just like to point out, people, you know the UFC wants to make him a star when they're not even announcing his age. Like, nobody knows how old this motherfucker is. It's not on paper anywhere. Which leads me to believe that this fucking guy is pretty damn old. But God bless him, he's a hell of a fighter. Just a little UFC trivia that no one talks about.
Word on the street. If you want to get those kinds of factoids, listen to the podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, and listen to the special interview. It's going to be dropped on YouTube tomorrow. Word on the street with Bob Sapp. You'll get the laydown on all the works, all the bullshit. Bob Sapp, if anybody knows what went down, it's him. Especially when it comes to Japanese MMA. Bob Sapp really was, if you were to make a Mount Everest of Japanese MMA, Bob Sapp would probably make it up there. His face might be the only one that fit on the mountain, but damn it, he would be up there. Listen to that interview, and listen to the Beatdown of the Month, the segment we have every month to break down the biggest beatdowns. Mine is pretty easy. I got Kane versus Bigfoot 2. Nobody thought Bigfoot had a chance going into it, and that was for a reason. Cain Velasquez is literally better than Bigfoot at everything. He's better at wrestling, probably better at jiu-jitsu. Shit. He's a better striker. He isn't as big as him, but he's quicker. He's probably stronger. And he put another ass whooping on Bigfoot Silva. A fight that's probably gonna end. After those two beatdowns, I don't see Silva ever getting another title shot in the UFC. At least not with the way the heavyweights look now. It's just not going to happen. Cain Velasquez, he's going to be the champion for a long time to come. Chris?
Yeah, definitely, man. That's a good, solid point there. You know, I really don't have too much to say that you haven't said yourself, so I'll pass it off.
I don't even know whose fucking turn it is.
It's yours, Ramses.
Oh,
Who was your
fuck.
beatdown of the month?
The beatdown of the month. Yeah, well, I don't know about of the month, but just the one that sticks out in my mind was the Jeremy Stevens versus Bum, whoever it was. That bloodbath, alright, people? That was good. We haven't seen something like that since Kane versus Bigfoot the first time around. It was awesome, but it did play out sort of like a ritual, like blood sacrifice. They should have stopped the fight, like I said. Once you start losing that amount of blood, not only is it's bad to put that shit on TV and keep it going, but also, you know, it's just, there's a possibility that the person will lose too much blood. And the only reason I keep raising a stink about it is because they screwed over Yves Edwards one time, stopping his fight with, I think it was Big Daddy Steve, whatever his name is, the Daddy Stevenson, Joe Stevenson guy. They stopped his fight saying Yves had lost too much fucking blood. The cut wasn't even in his eye or anything like that. So yeah, if you're gonna do that once, you know, why screw over him but not this other motherfucker? But still, it was good. It was bloody. It was fun to watch. We all get a kick out of it inside. It was bloodier than a fucking, than a day in the office at Yao's job. Yao, what do you think, man? The beatdown of the month.
My beatdown of the month was the main event at UFC on FX8. Vitor Belfort versus Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold was a favorite. Most people were expecting Luke Rockhold to win. They were bringing up the TRT issue with Vitor Belfort. He put it aside. He didn't let it get to him. Went out there in his hometown of Brazil and knocked out Luke Rockhold. And my favorite part, really the beatdown part of it, was not the kick, but the left hand that he followed up with on the ground that really put him away. The kick kind of stunned him and it floored him, but that left hand that he landed at the end was just, that really put him away. That's my beatdown of the month.
Nice.
Ali, you have a beatdown of the month? Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, 1 second, guys. I just want to point out so that, obviously, I was making a joke there and it probably bombed because you guys have no frame of reference. I said that Jeremy Stevens versus whatever his name was a bloodbath. It was bloodier than Yao's day at work because, I don't know, you guys probably didn't catch the podcast. Yao actually revealed what he does for a living, as a side job. And it's probably the bloodiest damn thing you could ever imagine. And that's all I'll say.
Yao,
Word.
Is it? You can't leave us hanging. What is your bloody job?
Well, here it is. When I was 14, I started working at a butcher shop, basically a slaughterhouse where you slaughter live animals that most people eat. Cows, lambs, chickens, turkeys, stuff like that. I worked there for 4 years, my whole high school career, and if I had to take an estimate, I'd say I've slaughtered over 400 animals in my career working there.
Damn. Yao is that straight shooting, quiet guy that seems a little too normal, and then you find out that he's murdered 400 animals, and then they find skeletons under his floorboards.
In his closet.
And also in his closet. Ali, what is your beatdown of the month? Yao is probably a serial killer, so you shouldn't say anything bad about him.
My beatdown of the month is Yao and the animals.
that was a good one.
I like that.
Heads off. Jesus Christ, Yao has a dark side to him, kind of like that tat on GSP's chest that says some stupid shit like, I am dark and I am good at the same time.
I've never killed so many animals except for my job.
You would be surprised how bloody it gets inside my head sometime, because the cow blood literally go in the ear. Wow, that's pretty crazy about killing all those animals. We will move on, though. Leave it at that. Yeah, it was probably a serial killer. Roy Nelson and Stipe Miocic going to be fighting at UFC 161. And also, as a little side note to that, Roy Nelson also saying the UFC is never going to give him the title shot. What do you think about Nelson Miocic, and is he right? I'll put in my 2 cents first. I think Nelson's going to get that overhand right in. It seems like I've been saying the last year, and this kind of goes into the second point. He knocks everybody out except when he gets in that top 5, top 6 fight away from the title shot, rarefied air, and then he loses a one-sided unanimous decision beatdown. Whether it be to I think Mira and Dos Santos were the last 2 people to do it to him. The guy just can't seem to beat that top elite level fighter, and that's why he's never going to get a championship fight. And I hope, in the next few years of his career, they're going to be very important. Maybe Roy can finally, get serious and realize, hey, if I really want a title shot, I got to lose this 50-pound belly in front of me. Ramses, what do you think?
Yeah. Real quick, Roy Nelson has 3 fucking problems. Number 1, like I said, he's fat. Number 2, Dana White doesn't like him. So you're basically fucked at number 2. But number 3, he's not that smart. And actually, number 3 is probably the reason why Dana White doesn't like him. But yeah, man, he is smart enough to at least know that the UFC is never going to give him a title shot. He is right about that, but I'm thinking that's probably because they directly told him to his face, you will never get a title shot. So sorry, Roy Nelson, Miocic, whatever, who the hell you're going to fight. Nobody cares. We just want to see somebody get knocked out and we want to see it like a 1-round heavyweight fight, just like you're good at, man. Yeah, what do you think, man? Roy Nelson, Miocic, never getting a title shot. What's up?
Roy Nelson, he couldn't finish his fight very quickly. I mean, Stephen Struve was able to knock out Stipe Miocic, so of course Roy Nelson can. But as far as him getting the title shot, he can. I don't know why he's saying. He's probably just saying he can't just to stir up some, I don't know what to call it, some controversy or whatever, but he can get the title shot. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and that's winning fights. You win the next fight, and if he wins the next fight, he's good.
Ali, what are your 2 cents on Nelson versus Miocic and Nelson's comments?
Yeah, it's another knockout for Roy Nelson, and I'm gonna tell you that right now. He is gonna knock out Stipe Miocic. Excuse me. Do I ever think he's gonna get a title shot? If he can be the top 5 guy, I mean, he's getting there. I think he deserves it if he gets the knockout. I mean, the fans will want to get it. And, you know, the big thing about UFC and mainstream, so, I mean, I think if he knocks him out in fantastic fashion, that title shot would be calling for him right there.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Miocic is a dead man walking. Roy Nelson knocks out a bunch of dudes who look like stunt doubles for Fast and the Furious movies and keep Yao away from your livestock, I guess.
Keep Yao away from your livestock. I actually heard a report that very close to Queens, New York, hundreds of cows were being found slaughtered, their heads cut off, their blood drank from their veins. Everybody thought it was the chupacabra, but it turns out it's an amateur MMA fighter coming out of Queens, coming to slaughter all of your livestock, lock them up before Yao gets to them. Mir versus Barnett. Frank Mir, Josh Barnett. Josh, the War Master, is finally signed with the UFC. We didn't think he was going to join the promotion for a while there, but he has joined the UFC. Will be fighting Frank Mir in a very stylistically interesting fight. Frank Mir, you know, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Josh Barnett, more the wrestler. Both of these guys could have careers as commentators. Frank Mir has commentated in the UFC, I believe, before. Josh Barnett been on all sorts of shows, including the Rogan Experience. Both of these guys, when they talk about grappling, you really can tell how smart they are about it. Like I said on the roundtable, if they gave out PhDs in grappling, just as far as the intelligence goes about knowing what to go for, what to look for, both of these guys would be PhDs. And in the last few years, both of these guys have proven that they also can throw. So I am really looking forward to this fight. I think it's too early to really say who has an edge. They both have recently fought Daniel Cormier. Frank Mir looking a lot more fit in his fight with Cormier, but you also have to take into account that Josh Barnett's hands were broken in the first round of that fight. We'll start off with Chris. Mir versus Barnett for UFC 164. What do you think about this matchup? It's going to be a good one.
I think it's definitely going to be a good one. It's Mir versus Barnett. You got buff chubby versus chubby fat. You got, a jiu-jitsu guy with striking versus, a guy with catch wrestling and a little bit of boxing. I think Barnett is a fucking tough son of a bitch for anybody at the weight class. Let's be honest here. The guy loses to only the cream of the tip, and Frank Mir has looked less than stellar in the last couple years. I think the only thing that we can actually, all agree upon is that it depends on which Frank Mir shows up. Frank Mir has the craziest body, shape-shifting ever. He might be a reptilian. That guy shows up buff sometimes. He shows up fat. He comes in looking tan. Sometimes he comes in looking, white as hell. He has tattoos, and then they're gone. Frank Mir recently joined up with Jackson's MMA, so he's got a new game plan. He's got a new mindset. He looked pretty spirited in his effort against Daniel Cormier. I think Barnett has kept his training the same for the last, 10 years. Mir's mixing it up. It all depends on which Mir shows up.
Holy fuck, man. The War Master, I'm glad he's in the UFC, but God damn, man, what did it take to make this happen? What's really going on here? There's some part of the story that's not being revealed here. How much did Bellator offer him? How much did the World Series of Fighting offer him? What happened with that? There's something that doesn't seem right about Barnett signing to the UFC right now. Maybe they need him to fill in or something. Trust me, something is up here. Something's going to come up. It's just a little weird that they finally made the deal happen out of nowhere. So I won't even comment until the real reasons are revealed why. Yeah, what do you think though? Well, I guess I should. He's gonna whoop Mir's ass. That's for damn sure. Frank Mir just puts people over these days. That's his job. He's a company man. God bless him. Yeah, what do you think?
I'm gonna be 100% honest, like I always am. I've never seen Josh Barnett fight. I've heard of him, but I've honestly never seen him fight. I think the only thing I've seen was, I think he fought, what is his name? Kane's teammate, Daniel Cormier. Is that correct?
What the fuck?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I saw some highlights from that, but I really don't know what he's good at. But if I had to guess, I'd go with the guy I know better, and that's Frank Mir. I feel like Frank, he'll just be in better shape than he was in the Daniel Cormier fight, and that should be the difference. What do you think, Ali?
Yeah, I would call you out for that, but I know your thirst for blood can never be quenched, and you'll probably come to Florida and cut me up into little bits. Into tons of little bits. Sorry, you can go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, so everybody's wondering what Frank Mir is going to show up. Well, the answer's already been told to you guys. He went to Jackson's camp, so he's not going to finish the fight. And we're going to see Frank Mir get dominated, like every other fighter from Jackson's camp, other than John Jones.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting point. I never thought of that. Mir hasn't really done too well. But Ramses, before we go any further, it is time for Fight Tips with Ramses, and yeah, I will let you take it away, good sir.
Welcome once again to Fight Tips. Alright, people, I'm just trying to help you out in real-life situations that do occur. This week's fight tip, I call this technique the bird cage. It's only helpful in, restaurants, some places where there is a tablecloth available. Alright, people. When you're eating with your lady, you're just having some sushi and whatnot. Some asshole at the table next to you just starts jive talking you. He's trying to hit on your lady or whatever. It's disgusting. You have to do something. What you do if you're in an altercation in a restaurant, what you got to do, it's called the bird cage. Like a magician, you grab the tablecloth closest to you, and then you just sweep out that cloth. You sweep it out of the table like a magician does, leaving all the food and all the glasses still intact on the table. It takes some training. You have to train this fucking move. But once you have that tablecloth, the guy is gonna wonder, what is this guy doing? A fucking magic show? While he's distracted, you just throw that fucking tablecloth completely over his head. That's why it's called the bird cage. He will be disoriented. Everything will go black for a moment. He won't know if you're still doing a trick or not. It's not exactly a strike. It's just all of a sudden he's shrouded in darkness. As soon as that happens, what you do is you kick that motherfucker in the knees so damn hard that that it explodes backwards, right? You gotta go for the knees. You can't punch him in the face because he's got a cloth over him. You're not gonna be able to tell exactly where the jaw is. So he's got the bird cage on him, and then you just kick out his fucking kneecap, break the damn thing, disable him forever, and you run like a motherfucker, and you tell your woman to just make sure she remembers to pick up your cell phone and bring it back home with you. That's the bird cage. That's the fight tip of the week. See you next time at the dojo.
And that was this week's fight tip from Ramses. Tune in every Friday to get a new fight tip. Whether you're murdering children or homeless people, you will know what to do next time you're in a scuffle on the streets. That is the word, on the street. Keeping it on the streets, keeping it real. Two of the realest welterweights in the UFC, Carlos Condit and Martin Kampmann, will be fighting each other, will be fighting what I believe is a rematch, correct? When did they fight? I think UFC Fight Night back in like 08, 09?
2009.
Yep. Yeah, they I think were the headliners on that UFC Fight Night card. Carlos Campman losing a controversial split decision to Martin Campman. Condit's wanted the rematch for a while and will be getting it. Stylistically, pretty interesting. I am leaning Condit. I'm a big fan of Condit, and I really think the only two people in the welterweight class who can beat him are Johnny Hendricks and George St. Pierre. But Campman is no slouch either. Has some impressive victories on his record. I mean, you look at the guy, and he's stepped into a lot of fights where he was an underdog and won. Ramses, what are your early thoughts on Carlos Condit and Martin the Hitman Campman?
Nobody cares about Carlos Condit anymore, and nobody cares about Campman or even knows who the fuck he is at this point. This is, I think I'm quoting Yao at this point. This is going to be a bum fight. Condit, yeah, he is one of the best fighters, but guess what? They're not letting him fight anymore. All right? They're not letting him fight his fight. He's just a company man now. He's just putting on a good show. This is going to be a sparring match, in my opinion. Maybe, I mean, yeah, you might see a knockout or some shit, but these guys aren't out there trying to kill each other anymore. He's something's up with Condit fights, man. For some reason, he's bought off and paid for, in my opinion. So this is just going to be your typical hack fight, little side card event here, and I'm just not buying it anymore. I don't know. Yeah, what do you think?
What we're seeing from Carlos Condit is what you see from everybody that loses to George St. Pierre. They start decreasing, and then maybe they'll come back and then decrease again, or they just keep decreasing. If you look at everybody George St. Pierre beats, they just start to decrease slowly, start losing fights. It's the same thing over and over. So what I'm guessing is that you'll see Martin Campman win, or if Carlos Condit wins, I really don't see it being a convincing win, but we'll see. It should be a good fight. I think it's the headliner. It should be a good fight. Welterweight, whoever wins, they'll move up in rank. Hopefully it's Martin Campman. I would like to see him fight Johnny Hendricks again because he was supposed to win that fight. But, Ali, what do you think?
So, guys.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Ali, are you still with us?
Yeah, what's up?
Wow. Alright, I don't know if Ali's with us. Go once, going twice. I'm going to go ahead and let him off the call, but if he does want to come back, he can call us back. He knows the number, cocksucker. Chris, Condit versus Campman. What do you think about this fight? Marty Condit versus Carlos Campman.
Listen, guys. Listen, using Yao's catch line here. Listen, come on. Be with me.
Look.
Yeah, this is a very intriguing fight. I have a couple reasons why. Let's be honest. Both these guys had a pretty hard road, leading up to title contendership or being really close to that. Martin Campman, has had his ups and downs. He got TKO'd by Paul Daly. He beat Condit in the first fight, and he was on his way to a title shot before getting stopped by Big Rig Johnny Hendricks. Carlos Condit lost the first fight to Campman and then came back, and he was steamrolling folks, beating Ellenberger and Dong-Young Kim, Dan Hardy, looking really impressive. And then he fought, Nick Diaz, didn't look that great. So they've had kind of a similar trajectory on their UFC path here. And it comes down to one thing and one thing only. These guys are very well conditioned, very well trained, very diverse in their MMA game. Campman, obviously a Dutch kickboxer with excellent kickboxing. His jiu-jitsu game is fantastic. He taps guys out. His wrestling has improved. Same thing can be said for Condit. Both have improved wrestling. It comes down to the fact that Martin Campman got knocked the fuck out by Johnny Hendricks, and Carlos Condit didn't, and also looked very impressive in that fight, nearly finishing Big Rig in the last round. So I think that's what it is. Condit has the beard. Campman doesn't anymore. I got Condit, man.
For sure. And before we get on to our next couple topics, before we close it out, including John Jones in our next one, is it true that you kapooyed someone in a 7-Eleven?
Yes, I just did. I actually made a 7-Eleven stop. The guy was mixing slushies and everything. Thanks to Ramsey's for, giving us that fight tip a couple weeks ago. I just used it, and now I'm safe home.
No problem, man. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I was on a rampage worse than the Boston Bombers, ladies and gentlemen. He's going around cutting up poor innocent goats and cows and trying to kapooya little babies at the 7-Eleven. A little 3-year-old kid trying to make a mixed slushy. New York, you better watch out. Queens has a new menace going around town, causing ruckus, training MMA. You gotta watch out, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in that area. Alright, like I mentioned, John Jones. Rumored his next fight's going to be against Alex Gustafsson. We don't know if that toe injury is going to keep him out 6 weeks or 6 months. 2 topics I want to bring up. A, does Gustafsson have a chance to beat John Jones? What do you think about that if that fight materializes? And B, who, if anybody, can beat John Jones right now? Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. If there's 2 men standing on this earth right now that aren't named Chael Sonnen that could beat him, it would be Gustafsson and Teixeira. We can all agree that anyone outside of that two-man list is kind of shit out of luck. That being said, neither of these guys are too convincing. They're not storming through people, really. I mean, they're looking, somewhat impressive, but Gustafsson couldn't finish Thiago Silva. He couldn't finish Shogun. He probably couldn't finish on his wife's chest. Let's just be honest here. And I think Teixeira, it's the same thing. He is a finisher, but it's against subpar competition. I think this is a good match considering Gustafsson is tall and, although he lacks range, he is on a streak. But what impresses you about Alexander Gustafsson? Nothing with me, man. I definitely don't think it's him.
Yeah, Gustafsson doesn't stand a fucking chance. There's no way they're going to let him win. Chael, he did his thing. He put John Jones over in that last fight. Good for him. Sad to see, but it's the business. And Alex, sorry, you're not going to sell any pay-per-views on the level with John Jones. They are moving into your homeland, but even you punked out of that fucking fight, dude. That probably ruined your career, sealed the deal. John Jones is probably going to break you in half. It's going to be embarrassing. Maybe I'll predict 3rd round finish, John Jones.
What you got, Ali?
You mean Yao?
Yao.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh my god.
Yao.
Gone from baiting to just straight up racist.
Exactly.
Well,
my god.
What you got, Tyrone? Come on.
Oh,
right.
man.
In my defense, he was calling up right as I said that, and he is back on the call now. Yao and Ali, we'll start off with Yao. What do you think? I'll bring back up the topic for Ali's sake. What do you think about this rumor about Alex Gustafsson versus John Jones? Does Gustafsson have a chance? And who, if not Gustafsson, has the best chance, whether it be someone within the 205-pound ranks, or Anderson Silva, or Cain Velasquez, or Daniel Cormier? Who on the planet can beat John Jones? Yao?
Look, let's not be ridiculous. Anybody in 205 can beat John Jones. Anybody in 205 can beat anybody else at 205. This is not, I don't want to get into the whole, John Jones, you just need to pray when you get in there and hope something, happens. No, anybody at 205 can beat John Jones. And I'm talking about the guys from the prelims all the way up to the top 10, top 5, top 3. Okay? Alexander Gustafsson, he does have a good chance of beating John Jones, but so does everyone else. But if there's one guy that I know for sure that can beat John Jones, it's Rashad Evans. And his last fight with Jones, he didn't do what he needed to do. He wasn't in shape to do what he needed to do. But he's reinvented himself again. And once he gets into title contention, he will beat John Jones. What you think, Ali?
I personally hope we never see Jones Evans ever again. I have friends who went to that in Atlanta and were literally falling asleep in their seats. But Ali, who you got in Gustafsson versus Jones, and who's got the best chance to beat him?
I have John Jones, like always. John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, a big test for him. because their heights almost identical, but I believe Jones has the bigger arm reach, but I believe Gustafsson has the bigger leg reach. It's going to be a true test for Jones. Anybody can beat Jones. Anybody can beat anybody. It's just something if they're on their P's and Q's. And I think Jones walks away again. That guy just shows you what hard work is, and he just beats all these guys like it's nothing. Jones for the win.
I do agree with you, and I disagree with you, Yao and Ali, about the fight. Anyone can beat anyone, because there is a reason they fight the fights. Everybody and their mom was saying that there's no chance Chael Sonnen could have beaten John Jones. Well, John Jones did win the fight, but there's a reason they fought. There is a reason that they just didn't say, all right, well, yeah, you're right, there is no chance Sonnen can beat Jones, so we may as well not even fight. They fight the fights for a reason. But you got to give Jones his due credit. I mean, Sonnen is one of my favorite fighters too, and I'm not very happy that Sonnen not only wasn't able to beat him, but that Jones really didn't carry himself in the most professional way before and after the fight. But the guy, I mean, it's sort of one of these things. I was actually watching a Miami Heat game last night, which I know I hate to go on tangents on other sports, but my friend was telling me how much he hated LeBron James. And I said, look, you can hate him all you want, but at the end of the day, you've got to appreciate what he does. And looking back 20 years, you're going to be mad at yourself if you let your hate for this athlete get in the way of appreciating what he's doing. Because whether you hate him or you love him, John Jones has dominated everybody he's fought. I mean, yeah, he did have a scare from Lyoto in the first round, a scare from Vitor in the first round, but John Jones really has not been in that deep water with anybody as far as losing a fight. Yeah, he lost a bullshit DQ to Matt Hamill, but I really have a feeling that, we have the super fight with Anderson. I think that would be a hell of a fight. I don't know who I would pick in that. If Jones does move up to heavyweight like he's been saying about doing, I don't know if he could beat a guy like Cain Velasquez. But I mean, if he can beat Anderson, if he can rise to the heavyweight ranks and win fights there, we're looking at a guy who, in the next decade might only lose a couple fights. We are looking for sure at one of the top 5 pound-for-pound guys of all time. And even though you might not like him, you got to appreciate the shit out of what he's doing, because he is a dynamo at 205.
Huge cock.
Huge cock. Very girthy. Last topic before we ride it out. Alistair Overeem. He was rumored to be fighting Travis Brown, and that has been confirmed. They will fight at UFC on Fox Sports 1. Reem versus Brown, the two men who lost to Bigfoot on Bigfoot's way to the title. I think a lot of both of these guys. I actually might have him overrated. I do think he's one of the top 6 or 7 guys in the UFC's heavyweight class. But Reem is just a notch above him. He has more experience. He is bigger. He has that kickboxing that can really fuck people up. And I think going into that Bigfoot fight, I think he was just being overly cocky. We had seen Antonio Silva take some beatdowns, and I think Overeem was convinced that he was just going to let loose another one of those beatdowns, and it didn't happen. You can never put your hands down against a heavyweight, no matter who you are and who he is. If you're in the heavyweight class, if you put your hands down, one punch from one of those big meaty paws of a heavyweight but could end your night like that, and we saw that in Reem versus Bigfoot. I do have Alistair Overeem winning this fight pretty convincingly, though. Ramses, who you got in Reem versus Brown?
This is a layup fight for Mr. Overeem here. He deserves it. He needs a little tune-up, man. What Bigfoot did to him was totally unexpected. No one saw that coming. It was a damn nightmare for the UFC. They throw him a bum like Travis Brown coming off of this fucked up knee injury, which coincidentally they both lost to Bigfoot, of course, so this fight makes sense. But Overeem's gonna whoop his ass, tear through him, because he has to, alright? This has gotta be one to put Overeem over, because let's face it, people, Overeem is going to sell pay-per-views. Nobody's going to buy a Travis Brown pay-per-view. That's the word on the street. I don't know if it's Yao or Chris yet. I'll just assume it's Yao. What's up with the Reem and Travis bum fight?
I got to take my favorite heavyweight, Alistair Overeem, beating Travis Brown. You know, I got to, anytime Travis Brown gets in there, I got to go against him because he is a Greg Jackson fighter. I go against all of his fighters. Thank you, Chris. But yeah, Alistair Overeem, my favorite heavyweight. I think what'll make the difference in this fight is Alistair keeping his hands up and doing what he needs to do. And I think the knees and the elbows and the clinch are going to make the difference in the fight. I think he'll just, get inside and knee him into the ribs, to the body, to the head even, and just, finish the fight like he needs to do. Because I really feel like Overeem can be world champion in the heavyweight division. I think he beat Dos Santos. I think he can beat Kane. He can beat anybody he needs to beat to get to that number one position, and he will. Ali?
Hey. Yeah.
Overeem versus Brown.
Yeah, my bad. I was eating some candy. I believe
How's that blunt?
We went over this on one of the past podcasts, and I'm going to say the same thing I said on that one. Overeem, are we going to see the Demolition Man? Coming off that knockout loss. He has so much to prove to everybody. I think we're going to see him. Travis Brown, he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. He can knock guys out and all. But, that loss to Antonio Silva. Both guys got lost to Antonio Silva, by the way. But
what was that?
I know, man. I know. See, this is a problem. Obviously, he doesn't give a fuck about this fight, man.
Pretty much.
That tells you right now the popularity of Travis Brown, to where he's fighting Overeem, and it's still not exciting. I'm not excited about it. I got to be honest, too.
Oh, well, you know what? I, for one, am excited, Ramses. So put that in the one column for excited. Say what you want. Say what you want about Alistair Overeem and his special vitamins, his routine, what he puts in his body. We all know what's up. At this point, we can all say that he might have had some extra help, but who isn't really? And Alistair Overeem is one of the most decorated heavyweights to ever set foot in that octagon. And you'd be out of your mind to count him out against anybody with a good game plan. What got him to success in the first place, guys? It was covering his fucking face and using single power shots. He's not a combination fighter. He throws those giant knees. He throws the leg kicks and his overhand right. He's a fantastic fighter. And on his best day, he beats fucking anybody. I'd have him winning against Junior Dos Santos. He's exciting. He's massive. He's got excellent Muay Thai, great takedown defense. Travis Brown is very mobile heavyweight, a guy that trains, with Greg Jackson, but also looks like Dominic Cruz for heavyweight. But that's not going to help him. Alistair Overeem, he had a great run. I think 6 years unbeaten in mixed martial arts and did very well in kickboxing. He needed that wake up call to get him, to get him to realize that you can be beat by anyone, and I think he's going to come back strong, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that is going to be very interesting to see the comeback of Alistair Overeem. I guess that does it for this episode of the MMA Podcast. We'll get our plugs in really quick. Yao, how can we find you on Twitter and Instagram, all that shit?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Yao_the truth. That's YAO_the truth. That's all you need to know.
Ali, what about you?
Follow me at Archer432 on Twitter because I am accurate with my takedowns. I'm on a quest to become the Texas State champion at 152 pounds. Will you be a witness? There you go.
For sure. And of course, we got Chris. What about you, buddy? Where can we find you on the Twitters?
You can find half funny and semi-serious tweets at C. Lowenstein.
Hell yeah, definitely follow MMA Mental, the MMA Mental Podcast with Ray, the Early Stoppage Podcast with Jay, and of course the Word on the Street Podcast with Ramses. Tell us where to find the podcast and where to follow you on Twitter.
the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter in 1 hour and 30 minutes. Hopefully it'll be live. Don't know if Jake's going to stick around or not. We are going to interview Bob Sapp, an MMA fighter who is willing. You've never heard an interview before, I'm guessing, with a guy who is willing to admit that he takes dives and he works fights in MMA. And we're going to talk to him about that shit tonight in a little over an hour. I can't fucking wait. So just follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter and the MMA Podcast, greatest mainstream podcast that you're about to hear the underground shit, which I call the word on the street.
Hell yeah, on the MMA Podcast, you can catch us every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's the Roundtable. Visit us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast, or visit themmapodcast.com. We got an exciting month for the MMA Podcast. We got MMA Roasted, a.k.a. Adam Hunter, on in a week or two, along with Sam Cecilia, along with Joey Diaz. We're gonna be trying to get Eddie Bravo on again here soon. Chat some MMA with him. Once again, thank you so much. We're getting close to 50 podcasts. I didn't think we'd make it nearly this far, and it's all because you guys keep it going with the positive feedback, following us on Twitter, and all that good shit. We love the hell out of you. And until next week, for Ali, for Yao, for Ramses, for Chris, for Jay, for Ray, for Patrick, for Dave, for everybody in the MMA Podcast family, and not that bastard Ross Finkelstein, we will see you next week. Adios.
We gone.
And we gone.
Two clans fighting under the same banner. We all got love for this ground game, and that's all that matters. In the balance, the teachings of the grandmaster. I'm trying to master the system, that's what I'm after. And stay true to the craft, spark trees to relax. Old school lyrical lace in the track. And I'm working the angles, always sharp and precise, man. Back in the day when I was learning to rock in this mic, paying homage to the classic shit. Dilated, undisputed heavyweights repping Los Angeles. And yeah, I do this for the 213. Historical flip down, you know I'm with that G. So fire in the hole, slick with the flow. High caliber rappers is here to shatter the fucking mold. Come on.